Fashion, in many ways, has always been about one thing: newness. People want the latest trend, and designers want to innovate. It's what high fashion is based on: the newest pieces in the best quality. But within the last few years, we're starting to see a demand. A demand for pieces from prominent designers' past collections. This is the rise of archive fashion. In this video, we will not only explore what it is, but also the future of the trend. So what is archive fashion? Archive fashion is defined as any piece of clothing or garments from a high-end designer's previous collections. This is different from retro and vintage fashion that usually emulates the aesthetic and style of past decades. Archive fashion focuses on the designer's past work that in some way remains significant and influential to the fashion world. That being said, as the popularity for the term grows, it's becoming more common for the term to be associated with any vintage designer piece. Did you know fashion items were always preserved? During the 19th and 20th century, it was considered insignificant to do so because of their perishable nature. Then, as the idea of creating fashionable apparel grew throughout the world, it became imperative for designers to do so. Yves Saint Laurent was one of the first designers to maintain an archive, starting his own collection in the early 1960s. But the idea really took off in the 1980s, with Dior creating their own archive for their 40th anniversary exhibition in 1987. Before this, a popular logic was that all the pieces a fashion house produced for the runway needed to be sold. Having an archive became crucial for a brand's legacy and DNA, and these days it's common for a brand to spend thousands of dollars to maintain their collection. Because of how rare and valuable these archival pieces can be, they usually aren't for sale, but they do get loaned out for exhibition or to celebrities from time to time throughout the decades. But that's not the archive fashion we're here to talk about. It's not very accessible to consumers, so one of the ways someone can get their hands on an archival piece is through the resale market. The vintage designer resale market has always been a thing on and offline, but with fashion rules like you can't wear something from last season, and the fast fashion industry dominated the 2000s and 2010s, buying pre-owned designers wasn't a trend like it is now, especially when fast fashion brands could remake a vintage item and sell it for a cheaper price. But by the late 2010s, there was a shift. As the idea of thrifting and buying secondhand clothing started to gain momentum, streetwear will help create the archive fashion trend. The 2010s was an interesting time for high fashion because it was the decade that streetwear and luxury really mixed. Influenced and really backed by hip-hop culture, sportswear and even casual wear can now be considered high fashion, making the idea of luxury accessible to more people. Fashion houses quickly tapped into the market and fed the hypebeast and flex culture that dominated streetwear. This was a lot of people's entry to the world of high fashion as well. As they got more invested and educated in the history of their favorite brand, the idea of archive fashion started to grow, with the 2010s being dominated by the idea of wearing the newest and trendiest items that really didn't have any meaning behind it except for showing off. Consumers wanted something that was more valuable. The archive fashion trend really got going in the late 2010s with the 2001 Raf Simons camo bomber jacket. Worn by both Kanye West and Drake, it became one of streetwear's most coveted items. Why? Because the jacket is considered to be a piece of streetwear history, being one of the first designs that mixed streetwear and high-end fashion. The piece also holds significant meaning for the designer of the collection. So archive fashion was essentially this: a rare or sought-after piece from a designer's past collection that holds significant meaning or remains influential to the current state of fashion. Some early examples included Helmut Lang's bulletproof vest, Vivienne Westwood's Dictionaries t-shirt, and Yohji Yamamoto's red jacket. Before the new decade started, archive fashion became a big trend, with resale sites like Grail taking over and vintage designer shops starting popping up everywhere. It was really cool and important for people who took fashion seriously, but at the same time, it also became complicated for people to get into because of the gatekeeping and elitist attitude. So to make it more inclusive and on a mainstream capability, people started using the term archive fashion for simply buying any vintage designers. This was perfect for the resale market. The future is buying vintage. From climate change to protests to the pandemic, so much has been going on in the world. This resulted in people becoming more aware of what they do, and in this case, what they spend their money on. The biggest trend in the retail market right now is resale, which is directly tied to consumers' growing concern on fast fashion. Thrifting was one of the trends that helped push the resale market forward early on. But online companies such as Depop, The RealReal, and Poshmark propelled it even further by giving consumers the opportunity to sell their own item through the online platform, making buying and selling secondhand clothing super easy for anyone. Because of their success, the market has been so lucrative that big brands have partnered up and even invested in these companies. As the idea of owning and wearing something old becomes trendy and fashionable, luxury brands are doing whatever they can to get on the action, leading some high-end fashion brands to reissue their archive pieces for sale. In 2017, Helmut Lang dropped their re-edition collection of 15 archive pieces. Most recently, Coach launched Coach Relove, part of their commitment to reduce waste and make fashion more circular. And what is a fashion trend without celebrity influence? From supermodels to entertainers, celebrities have been wearing more vintage designers to the red carpet and special events. Wearing archive fashion gives them the opportunity to make more of an impact with their fashion decisions. Some people like to credit the growing concern on fast fashion for the rise of the trend. And while I do agree, I also think the curated fashion pages on social media deserve credit as well. The people who buy archive fashion says it's a more affordable way to buy designer clothes. It's also in line with their young millennials and Gen Z values. Buying vintage designer also gives consumers the opportunity to not only express their own personal style, but help them stand out with their one-of-a-kind piece. The trend also gives power back to the consumers. For the future of archive fashion, with the resale market predicted to not only grow but to also surpass fast fashion, expected to be influential to trends and the industry in the years to come. So what are your thoughts on archive fashion? I hope you enjoyed the video and got some good information out of it. Make sure to like and comment, subscribe for more fashion related videos, and remember to keep living that fashion life. Bye!